Welcome to the video. My name is Pushpinder Gill, and this is going to be my email address over here where you can send me your valuable feedback. And so I'm gonna do a topic today which is weighted average, or you call it allegation as well. Now this is a topic which can save your life like anything. It's such an easy and such an universal topic that applies to almost every aspect of any test. Call it CAT, GMAT, GRE, anywhere. So let's go ahead and start with this topic. Alright, first of all, it's actually related to average. As I said, it's weighted average. So let's suppose there are these three numbers whose they are 100, 100, and these two numbers, they are 200 and 200. So if you want to calculate this average of these numbers, you very well know that average is equal to sum of items divided by number of items. This must you have learned from the first video on average. So you'll do, alright, 100, you'll be adding 3 times, isn't it? So instead of adding 3 times, I just multiply 100 by 3. Is that fine? Yeah, alright. Instead of adding 200 2 times, I can multiply 200 by 2, right? And then how many items are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can just simply write 3 plus 2. Now understand, if there were like 10 hundreds and 5 200s, so instead of adding them one by one, we can just multiply by the same number, isn't it? So that's what weighted average is. So if you want to understand it even much further, let me just say simple example. Let's say 100 cows on an average weigh 20 pounds. 50 horses on an average weigh 60 pounds. So what is the average weight of all the cows and horses taken together? So 100 into 20, that's the total weight of all the cows, plus 50 into 60, that's the total weight of all the horses, divided by 100 plus 50. These are the total number of animals which are there in that farm, right? So that would give me the overall average weight of all the cows and all the horses. So if you want to simplify it, you can say that if n1 items are there and their average is a1, and n2 items are there, their average is a2, that means that the overall average weight of the n1 items and n2 items taken together would be n1a1 plus n2a2 divided by n1 plus n2, right? I suppose it's clear now. Okay, alright, so let's go ahead and tamper with it. You know what, I have this habit of going much further than usual. So if the average of n1 items is a1, average of n2 items is a2, then the average of all the items together is n1a1 divided by n1a1 plus n2a2 divided by n1 plus n2, right? So that's not enough. Let's go ahead and tamper with that thing. So it's n1a1 plus n2a2 divided by n1 plus n2, that is equal to a. Let me do one thing. Let me take this thing to that side. Okay, so that means that n1a1 plus n2a2, that would be equal to a times n1 plus a times n2. So you don't have to learn that. I'm just showing it so that you understand. I'm gonna come to one concept. Let me take this to that side and bring this to that side. So that is gonna be n1 times a1 minus a times n1. That is gonna be equal to a times n2 minus n2 times a2. Okay, just bear with me for one more step. So n1 times a1 minus a, that is gonna be equal to, I'm sorry, if I take n2 common, that would be a minus a2. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this n2 down here. So that means n1 by n2 is gonna be equal to a minus a2 divided by a1 minus a. Alright, now just do one thing, forget all that. Just try to focus here. Now let me just ask you a question. Okay, the question goes like this, that there are boys in a class and there are girls in a class. Okay, the average weight of boys is 40 kg and the average weight of girls is, let's say, 20 kg. Very light. If there's, let's suppose there are 1 million boys in the class, so I'm exaggerating here. Let's suppose there are 1 million boys in that class and there's just one girl. Then where do you think the average weight of the whole class, that means boys and girls taken together, will be towards? It will be towards 40 kg, isn't it? Because there are more boys. That means that whenever two things mix with each other, their average depends upon the ratio in which you are mixing them. Okay, means the ratio in which boys and girls are getting mixed would make sure where does this A come to. Alright, so that means that if, let's suppose there are 2 million boys and 2 girls, still the average will come to the same number what it would have been for 1 million boys and 1 girl. That means it depends upon the ratio, not the number. Okay, alright. Now let me just do one thing. Let me make you forget this one as well. Let me just put that in a diagrammatic form. This is A1, that is A2, and this over here is A. Now from this you can say that N1 part is A minus A2. That means this N1 part is this minus this, and this N2 part is this minus this. Forget the negative, always take the modulus. Just forget the negative. So you're understanding what I'm doing here? This is A1 minus A is N2 and A2 minus A is N1. Let's suppose the question is the average weight of boys in the class is 40 kg, average weight of girls in the class is 20 kg, average weight of the whole class it's 24 kg. What is the ratio of boys and girls in the class? So you simply say 20 minus 24 is 4 and 40 minus 24 is 16. So it's 4:16 or 1:4. Isn't that simple? Whenever two things mix and they make one thing, so these two things are getting mixed, okay, and they are mixing in particular ratio, which is N1 ratio N2, and they are giving you A, so you can very well calculate that ratio. Now I call this concept as, now I know that it must be only 40 to 45% clear to you guys. Let me do so many questions on this so that you understand this topic. But before coming to that, I call this concept as mother of all concepts. Why? Because it applies almost everywhere, almost on every topic, almost on all the exams, all the competitive exams that you'll see. Let's see that. How does it apply on? So on average. So what you gotta do? The average height of girls is 156 centimeter and that of boys is 174 centimeter. If the average height of all the class is 160 centimeter, what is the ratio of boys and girls in the class? Simple. What is the average of all the girls? 156. What is the average of all the boys? Simple. 174. What is the average of all the class? 160. So what is the ratio? This 174 minus 160 will give you this, and this minus this will give you this. So that means it's 14:4 or 7:2. That's the ratio of girls and boys in the class. Isn't it easy, guys? It is easy. So much easy. You don't have to deal with X and anything like that. Right? Alright, let's see what else it applies to. It applies to profit and loss as well. David bought a rice for $30 per pound and other type at $50 per pound. He mixed the rice in a certain ratio and the mixture cost $33 per pound. Calculate the ratios in which quantities are mixed. So over here, let's suppose two types were there, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 costs $30 per pound. Type 2 costs $50 per pound. He mixed them and overall it costs $33 per pound. This minus this will be this and this minus this will be this. So it's nothing but he has mixed them in 17:3. You know what? Even I'm reading the question, you might have got the answer by now. Okay, so it's so easy. Alright, let's move forward. Let's see what else it applies to. It applies to interest as well. Let me read the question for you. Danny won a lottery and got a lot of money. He invested some part of it in mutual funds which guaranteed 6% rate of interest. Another part in which gave 13% rate of interest. If he earned 10% from both the investments, calculate the ratio in which money was invested to mutual funds in gold. Alright, so this is mutual funds and this is gold. he got 6% rate of return here, he got 13% rate of return here, and he got 10% rate of return overall. That means he must have mixed them in 3:4, right? As simple as that, right? So I hope you're understanding. Whenever two things mix, they mix in a particular ratio, and the ratio is inversely it's actually dependent upon the other part rather than the part it has. So that is why we do this allegation. Let's see where else it applies to. Oh my god, it applies to time, speed, distance as well. Alright, let's see the question. Now, ISNA sent this vehicle to moon traveling at the speed of this. It further went to Mars at an average speed of this. If the overall average speed was 1800 miles per hour, then calculate the ratio of time taken to travel from Earth to moon to time taken to travel to Mars to moon. So let's suppose the speed for them to travel to moon was 1000 miles per hour. The speed taken to travel to Mars, so this is moon, was 23 miles per hour, and the overall average speed was 1800 miles per hour. So what's the ratio in which did he mix them? That would be this minus this, that would be 500, and this minus this, that would be 800. So forget the negatives, just take the positive part. So that would be 5:8, right? Isn't that simple? Alright, now it only applies to the ratio of time taken. It doesn't apply to the ratio of distance taken. Now why is that? Because the average speed, if let's suppose you travel at the speed of s1 for the time t1, and you travel at the speed of s2 for the time t2. So the overall average speed would be the distance traveled for the first part plus distance traveled for the second part divided by the time taken to travel overall, which is nothing but an allegation equation, isn't it? Which is not when you travel d1 distance at t1 time and d2 distance at t2 time. So only in case of speed and times you will be able to use allegation on time, speed, distance. Isn't it so easy? That makes your life so easy, right? Great. Now let's see where it applies. Oh my god, it applies to mixtures as well. So John has a solution which has 60% acid, and Jean's solution has 90% water and the rest is acid. Now they both mix their solutions and the resultant solution of acid is 40%. Now overall, now I have twisted this question a little. Now all the questions previous one were easy. Now why they were easy? So that you understand the concept. Now let me just give one little twist. Now in allegation, now what can happen is all the components, the component A1, the component A2, and the component A, they all must be the same thing. So if all are cost price, everything would be cost price. If all are sulfuric acid, everything will be sulfuric acid. If all are rates, everything will be rates. So they all have to be the same. They all have to be comparable. So in John's solution, what is the concentration of acid? 60%. In Jean's solution, what is the acid's concentration? 90% is water. That means 10% is sulfuric acid. Now when they mix, the overall resultant solution comes down to 40%. So this minus this would be 3, and this minus this would be 20. That is 3:2. Isn't it cool? Alright, this is in terms of sulfuric acid. You can very well do the question in terms of water as well. How? Assume that John over here, if the solution has 60% acid, we say 40% water. Though this is not implied in the question though, but yeah. Jean has 90% water, and overall if it's 40% acid, that means it's 60% water. Still again I'll get 30:20, and still again I'll get 3:2. So it doesn't matter at all if you take acid or if you take water. There's no magic in that. What you gotta do is you just gotta take the same thing overall. Right? So that will give you the answer. Now understand, the very first step for an allegation question for you is to understand, is to comprehend. Alright, I'm gonna use allegation on this question because it looks like an allegation question. The question will not scream that I'm an allegation question. You will have to turn it to an allegation question. Right? So how do you come to know that it's an allegation question? When two things get mixed and then when they make one thing. No matter what it is. right? Let's see some questions. Now this is in GMAT official guide 13th edition question, and you know what, I see a lot of awkward explanations there. Though we can solve this question in just one line, there are like one-page explanations there on various blogs. So let's try to make our life simple. Now there is seed X. Let me read the question out for you. The seed mixture X is 40% ryegrass and 60% bluegrass by weight, and seed mixture Y is 25% ryegrass and 75% this. And if a mixture of X and Y contains 30% ryegrass, what is the percentage of weight of this mixture? Is X. Now you know that ryegrass and ryegrass are common in all three mixtures. So do allegation on mixtures. So how much is the ryegrass in this? 40% ryegrass in X. How much ryegrass in Y? 25% ryegrass in Y. And how much ryegrass overall? 30% ryegrass overall. Right? So when you mix them, what is the overall solution? This minus this is 5 and this minus this is 10. So that means they are mixed in 1:2. Now what is the question asking you? The question is asking you what percent of weight of this mixture is X. That means that out of 3 parts, 1 part is X. That means it must be 1/3 of the total, which is nothing but 33.33%. Right? So I hope you understood what is this question. Now this is an official question. I'm not cooking this question up so that it looks easy. The concept is so easy that your life becomes very easy. You see that? Let me just take a quick recap. Mixture X was 40%, mixture Y was 25%, and overall it's 30%. That means they must be mixed in 5:10, that is 1:2. That means that X is what part? X is 1 part and Y is 2 parts. That means it's 1/3. X is 1/3, that is 33.33%. Okay, so I hope you understood this question. This is a very easy question. Alright, let's see again another GMAT official guide question. Now understand that you have to identify whether the question is from allegation or not. Now let me read out the question for you. A rabbit on a controlled diet is fed daily 300 grams of a mixture of 2 foods. Now whenever you see 2 things getting mixed, start thinking allegation. Your brain should start thinking allegation. Food X contains 10% protein, food Y contains 15% protein. Now you have very well identified, alright, what thing is common in both of them? Protein and protein. So I know that I'm going to use allegation in protein. Alright, so there is food X here and there is food Y here. It has 10% protein and it has 15% protein. So I just need the overall part and I will be able to get the answer. Now how much protein is overall? If the rabbit diet provides exactly 38 grams of protein, out of how many grams? Out of 300 grams. So since these are percentages, I have to make it again a percentage. So overall, what is the percentage of protein? That is 38 grams out of 300 times 100, which is nothing but 38/3%. Now don't convert it into decimals, guys, because then you'll lose the effect of this 3 here, isn't it? 1.666666 is not exactly a fraction, right? So just keep it like 38/3. So overall the mixture is 38/3%. Now you know what, it's gonna be difficult for me to compare these fractions. So what I want is, let me just put 3 here and multiply by 3 here again. Let me divide by 3 and multiply by 3. So this is what they're gonna become. Now X has this much percent of protein, Y has this much percent of protein, overall I have this much percent of protein. That means they must be mixed in the ratio 7/3 ratio 8/3, isn't it? So 30 minus 38 would give me 8. Just take the modulus, don't take the negative. 3 and 3 gone, that means they are mixed in 7/8. Now what is the question asking you? Question is asking you how many grams of food X are there in the mixture. So food X is 7/15 of total, isn't it? Because 7 parts is X and 8 parts is Y, so it's 7/15. And what is the total mixture? 300 grams. That means that this must be 140 grams. Isn't it easy, guys? Again, a GMAT official question, and you see how easy it is. You know what happens when you go to give the original GMAT? You see, like, it's so easy. Why is so easy? Because it is so predictable. It gives you predictable questions. What all it can do? It can just twist here and there something around, and if you're smart enough, you'll catch it there and then. So whenever you see a GMAT question, I'm talking about GMAT. Whenever you see a GMAT question, what do? You just identify what concept is this question from, and after that you know all the traps which the question maker can put you. These are all the traps. He can either give you this part, and this part. He just have to give you all the things apart from another thing, right? So from these three parts, if he gives you any one of the parts, you can very well get the question from there and then, right? All right, great. Now let's come to one more question. Now this is again a question of two mixtures A and B contain milk and water in the ratios 2:5 and 5:4. Now again, there are two mixtures, so I'm going to use allegation here. How many gallons of A must be mixed with 90 gallons of B so that the resultant mixture contains 40% milk? Now, how much of milk is in A? I want in terms of percentages. So A has milk and water in 2:5. That means that it has 2/7 of milk, isn't it? Great. How much milk is there in B? That is milk and water in this, so that means this is 5/9. And overall, how much of milk have I got? That is 40/100, right? Which is nothing but, if I cancel it out, that is 2/5. Now what I gotta do? Now since these fractions are not friendlier, isn't it? They're not that much friendly. So what I have to do is I have to either I convert them into their original numbers, either I just convert every them to a friendly number. I just multiply this by 9 into 7, and the top also gets multiplied by 9 into 7. I multiply this by 9 into 5, the bottom also gets multiplied by 9 into 5, and again I multiply this by 7 into 5, this also gets multiplied by 7 into 5, so that I can remove all the bottom parts. All the bottom parts, they are nothing but 9 into 5 into 7, and I'll be left with only the top parts which I can compare. I need to have the base same, right? So what is the first part? The first part is nothing but 90, that is 9 into 5 into 2. The second part is nothing but 35 times 5, that is 175. The bottom part is nothing but 63 times 2, which is nothing but 126. Looks comparable? Now it is comparable. So this minus this would be this, and this minus this would be this. So 175 minus 126 will give me 49, and 126 minus 90 will give me 36. So they are actually mixed in the ratio 49:36. Now he has already given me that how many gallons of A must be mixed with 90 gallons of B. That means that B is 90 gallons. That means if milk is 49x, because they are in that ratio, A is 49x, B is gonna be 36x. Now I already know that 36x is equal to 90 gallons. That means x is equal to 90 by 36 gallons, and I have just to calculate how much is 49x, which is gonna be 49 times 90 by 36. So if I just cut this by 4, cut this by 9, and cut this by 9, I get my answer to be 490 by 4, which is nothing but 122.5. See, in this question nothing was difficult at all. Just is that the numbers were a little crooked, and the reason why I have put this question here is because many people face that problem of having absurd numbers in allegation. You know what? And that's when they drop allegation. Something from my own personal experience, which I see in my students. So this is what you should do. Whenever there are absurd numbers, just get rid of the bottom part. That's what you should be doing, right? But all in all, I suppose you understood the allegation concept. What we did, we just said, okay, all right, how much is milk there in this part? How much is milk there is in this part, which was 2 by 7 and which was 5 by 9, and overall the milk was 2 by 5, and I just got rid of all the irrelevant fractions and I got my answer. Just a little bit of calculation that I have to do, right? Great. Okay, now I would recommend you, now this is a CAT question. You know that I always end my videos with a CAT question because the CAT is supposed to be a tough exam in India, but let me tell you, CAT is it's not that tough of an exam, especially the quantitative part. So pause this video and try to finish this question. Alright? Okay. So I suppose that you very well paused and got the answer. Let me go ahead and solve this question as well. Now there are 3 maths classes, X, Y and Z. They take an algebra test. The average score of X is this, average score of Y is this, average score of Z is this. Average score of X and Y is this, average score of Y and Z is this. What is the average score of all 3 classes? That means that I just need the ratio of students in the 3 classes, then I'll be able to get the average score of all the 3 classes. Let's see what is the ratio of X and Y. Now there are 83. The average score of X is 83 and Y is 76, and average score of X and Y is 79. That means this minus this would be this, and this minus this would be this. That means X ratio Y, it's 3 ratio 4. Let's see Y ratio Z. If you want to calculate for Y and Z, that is 76 and 85, and overall is 81, which is gonna be 4 ratio 5. So Y ratio Z is 4 ratio 5. So X ratio Y is 3 ratio 4 and Y ratio Z is 4 ratio 5. So X ratio Y ratio Z, it's simple, it's basic of ratios, is 3 ratio 4 ratio 5. Something is in 3 ratio 4 ratio 5 and their average weights are 83 for X, 76 for Y and 85 for Z. So using weighted average, because 83 items there are 3 parts, 76 items there are 4 parts, and 85 items there are 5 parts. So that means there must be, the overall average weight would be 83 into 3 plus 76 into 4 plus 85 into 5 divided by 3 plus 4 plus 5. Looks easy, right? Great. So you see, you can very well solve even the CAT questions with such an ease. I know this concept is very much popular all over India, but not all over world. I still have my doubts on that. Why is that? I want to know that answer. But still, it's very much popular over here in India, and I suppose students will be able to learn from this video. I have actually given you everything on allegations. Whenever 2 things get mixed, you're gonna use allegation no matter what it is, so that your life becomes easy. And make sure that all 3, this part and this part and this part, they have the same unit, they have the same things, and they are either percentages or they are either this. So much to teach, so much to do, but I can't do that in one video. Alright, so I'll keep making more and more videos. So thank you very much for this project. This project is already on such a high note, and since it's a non-profit project, I'm not expecting any profit out of it. What I'm expecting it's that you guys will share this with your friends. You guys will, that's what the efforts I want from you guys. And don't forget to send me your valuable feedback. Okay, so thank you very much. Keep watching, and if you have any problem, if you have any kind of query, then you can very well email me. Thank you very much, and see you next video.